Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I know that today's video is going to be a little bit longer than typical, but there has been some absolutely crazy things happening. It's just going to take a little while to get through them all. I found some really good clips and I just couldn't cut any of it out. But as usual, don't forget to physically interact with the video in some way by either leaving a like or comment. That way my new videos will continue to show up in your YouTube feed. And like I said, there's some crazy stuff happening right now that everybody needs to be aware of, so make sure you watch to the end so you don't miss anything. But that's enough of me talking. Now let's get after it.
This is a UFO sighting caught on camera in Columbus, Ohio, and I think it looks like this was on a live stream too, so they couldn't have made this up. This is like crazy. Do you guys think this is his UFO?
I'm turning down. It shot a lot again. Look, it's oh my.
I'm turning down 11.
What the is that?
All right. I just had to call it. So you look in the sky. Just look in the sky.
It's shooting the light down. What the is that? It look like it's taking somebody. What the is that? Look, it did it again.
Why are you so loud?
Look, baby.
I see it, babe.
It's shooting the light down. What the is that?
You showing me on the phone, and I see it right in the car.
Oh my.
Where is they shining that light?
What the
Is they shining it? Now that's in the sky. What the is in the sky, yo?
What the is that, y'all?
And it looks like it's over there by campus. Man, are we the only one that's seeing this?
Bro.
Hey, don't just wind your window.
Hey. Roll your window down. You see that?
In the sky.
What is that?
Where?
Right here.
Sky.
Look. That red.
Hey,
Look. What the is that?
Yeah.
Yo, what light is it in the air, bro?
Yeah.
Yo, it's red.
Yo, look at that.
We going.
It's shooting the light down, bro. What the is that?
The amount of videos that people are recording right now of strange anomalies in the sky is just absolutely mind-blowing. And we've already probably gotten more so-called UFO videos in the past 2 years than all of human history before it. So you would think that there's not going to be something that's popping up on the internet that we haven't already gotten from 4 or 5 other people from 4 or 5 different locations. But I'm still seeing stuff like this pop up that no one's gotten video of before. But I thought this one was really cool because they caught it on a live stream. You can clearly tell that their reactions are genuine. There's multiple eyewitnesses, and it looks like it's literally a tractor beam from out of a UFO movie. I don't put a lot of UFO content in my videos because there's just so much of it, but this is very unique right here. And with the way that thing was just hovering in one place, it clearly wasn't an airplane. I've never seen a helicopter that has those kind of lights on it before. That thing was really lit up. And it couldn't have been a drone because a drone's not going to be able to carry a light that's that powerful, where you could literally see the beam of light shining from the sky all the way to the ground. I just figure a lot of people are getting UFO video burnout right now because there's just so much of it. But when I come across something that's this unique, it has to go in a video. Disclosure is coming, everybody. Prepare yourselves.
Something is going on in Northeast Ohio right now, and I think I know what it is. So 3 days ago, this 7-ton asteroid meteor exploded near Cleveland. It was going about 45,000 miles per hour, and when this object exploded, it caused this sonic boom that was heard as much as 600 miles away. NASA has confirmed that fragments of this object hit the ground in Medina County, and this is the zone where you can find pieces of this thing. Now, the week before this, Portage County, Ohio, which is right next door, started experiencing this Bigfoot flap. There were at least 8 sightings reported over 4 days, all describing the same thing: 8 to 10 foot tall hairy humanoid cryptids moving through the woods. Even the county sheriff was talking about it. And what's interesting is that these sightings were seen as these creatures were moving southeast, away from where this meteor came down. Now stick with me here, this is where it gets really interesting. If you look on a map just across the state line to Pennsylvania, there is this region known as Chestnut Ridge. It's just east of Pittsburgh. And this place is one of the most active paranormal hotspots, one of these window areas in the US. And something really similar happened about 60 years ago there. In 1965, a fireball came down near the town of Kecksburg. Some witnesses who saw it coming down said it was moving with purpose, even changing direction before it crash landed, which is kind of similar to some of the other weird fireballs and meteors that people have been seeing over Texas this week as well. Now, witnesses in Kecksburg who made it to the crash site claimed that they saw this acorn-shaped object in a forest before the military swooped in, cordoned off the area, and hauled it away and classified it. And Stan Gordon documented what happened next, which was the largest wave of UFO and Bigfoot sightings ever recorded in that region, meaning that these sightings were happening concurrently. Someone would see a Bigfoot, and shortly after, or in the immediate area, there would be UFO sightings. Some even reported seeing Bigfoot-like creatures coming in and out of UFOs. So, could this be a similar event? What do you think is happening here?
I have a few ideas on how this could all potentially be tied together. We've seen the depictions in like Egyptian artwork and stuff like that that's showing what their supposed gods look like. A lot of these were really tall people with animal heads, and that was likely the Nephilim or some of their genetic experiments. But when you think about all of the grave sites that have been found with these 10, 12 foot tall human figures, grave sites that literally have the bones of giants in them, the only remains we ever see are just the skeletal remains. What if these are the bones, the evidence of Bigfoot? What if this is what the Nephilim looks like? They're only part human, so why would we assume that they would look like us? Maybe if someone ever got a close enough video of one, we'd be able to count and it could potentially have 6 fingers on its hand. But this kind of makes me wonder if all of the Bigfoot sightings that have been recorded over the years are actually alien sightings. And when I say alien, I mean fallen angel, demon, Nephilim. I don't believe for a second that they're people that came here from off planet. But what I'm saying is maybe they're one and the same. Or maybe this is something that was created by the fallen angels that's kind of a genetic mutation of some other creature here on Earth, or a genetic mutation of a human. Maybe the fallen angels are deploying these things. Maybe they send them on some sort of a recon mission or something, that they're out here for a specific purpose, and that's why we don't see them constantly. That would kind of explain why we see what could be described as a potential UFO crash, and then suddenly there's an uptick in Bigfoot sightings. Maybe they're out there trying to look for and collect parts of the wreckage. Maybe that's typically what they're used for. Or maybe they're typically sent out into our national parks to look for lost hikers, people they could easily abduct. Maybe that's an explanation for all the missing 411 cases. And of course, this is just a wild theory with no evidence behind it. I'm just trying to think of a logical connection between an uptick in Bigfoot sightings while also seeing an uptick in UFO sightings. Because I know they were claiming that those were comets falling in the sky, but a comet can't steer itself. So there has to be something else going on here. What do you all think the connection is?
Yeah, Hollywood producer Brent Freeman says a Reagan air official, John Harrington, told him aliens are real and he's seen them, and that he would cry himself to sleep every night. Bro, listen to this.
Essentially, he says, well, you know, to get the job, I had to be briefed, and I went and lived in an underground facility in West Virginia for a number of months. And every night, you know, after they would brief me, I would cry myself to sleep. Of course, I said, well, why? I don't understand. What would cause you to cry yourself to sleep every night? And his response, you know, was really startling. He said, this is not the world I thought I was bringing my daughters into. So I pushed back and I said, well, okay, I need to know something, because I'm like a son to you, aren't I? Like,
Right.
What is this world that I've been brought into? I need some answers. So I pushed, and eventually he hit on something interesting. He said, you know, when you were growing up, I remember you were into science fiction and comic books and stuff. And so I can tell you one thing: aliens are real, they're here, and I've seen them.
Thought right there, right? I wonder what was in those briefings. If he had been here so far, you are disclosure.
I'm not really sure what the jump scare there at the end was all about, but thinking about what this guy claims, the reason this guy was supposedly crying himself to sleep every night was because he had a difficult time processing this new information he had that made him fear for the safety of his children, I'm assuming. Now, it could totally be that this guy was told that aliens exist and he was given a narrative, and not told the actual full truth. He may have simply been shown the aliens just, visibly for proof, and then simply told they're in charge of things. We don't really control anything. But for the guy to be so disturbed that he's literally crying himself to sleep every night, I would think to disturb a grown man to that degree, it's much more likely that it was exposed to him that we are living in a world that is controlled by demons. And then on top of that, if it was exposed to him how close we are to the end of the timeline, meaning there's a high likelihood that his children are not even going to be able to reach his age, that would bother any parent, because it bothers me to think that my kids may not be able to live a full life. The evidence would suggest that all of this is going to be gone by the time they reach their 40s. They're not going to be able to have the same experience that I've been able to have. Granted, they'll be moving on to something much better than this existence, but you just can't help but to feel bad knowing that that's what you brought children into. But if this guy was given the truth, and I'm fully convinced that these are fallen angels, that there's no such thing as an actual alien, if this guy was given the real truth, they probably didn't tell him how close we are to the end. They probably only explained what their actual plans are for the future, what they intend or hope to pull off. And if they were given the time to actually enact those plans, I think that would terrify anyone. But y'all leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think he was told.
DOB suggests there may be a conspiracy play. Well, they ought to start thinking there is, because the FBI shows up when the guy's missing. He had everybody's thinking it's UFO, but he had some nuclear secrets. There's just too many of them disappearing, Benny. Nothing happens by coincidence in this town or around this town. Something's going on. It was the week after the president announced he was going to start releasing some of those files too. So America needs to start paying attention.
Some of the UFO files?
Yep. And that may be coincidental, but we had several folks have left this earth or disappeared that had some close proximity to a lot of that. And that's been going on for a while. That's nothing new.
Do you have any direct knowledge? I mean, you've gone into these classified briefings. Do you have any direct knowledge of this? Did you know any of these guys?
Possibly.
So you're telling me that right after President Trump said to declassify all the UFO stuff, that the UFO experts that you have personal knowledge of and that you have personal connection to, they've gone missing or wound up dead?
Well, one did, the one everybody's looking for, and it's pretty, I don't know the circumstances. He left with a 38 in his holster, and you're never going to convince me otherwise. I don't care what they find. I don't care what they find at this point. My wife said it the other day, how does somebody disappear in this day and age?
Police are searching for a retired Air Force general who vanished in New Mexico. William McCasland went missing last month. Members of Congress are warning this could be a national security issue. The general was involved with the Pentagon's most advanced aerospace research. He oversaw a classified space weapons program. McCasland was in charge of the Air Force Research Lab at a base in Ohio. It's rumored that base holds extraterrestrial debris from the Roswell crash site. The general was tied in with the UFO community. A source told the New York Post the general was a gatekeeper for anything UFO related in the Air Force. He retired due to mental fog, but investigators say he's still highly intelligent and capable. McCasland was an avid hiker. His wife last saw him leaving with a backpack and a .38 revolver. No phone, no glasses. He disappeared 6 days right after Trump announced he was releasing the UFO files. And he's not the only one. 8 months before the general vanished, a rocket scientist who worked under him years ago also went missing. She was hiking in California with 2 other people. They saw her smiling and waving 30 feet behind them. When they turned back again, she was gone, vanished in plain sight. They searched for days and couldn't find any trace of her. This is a very, very strange situation. And 11 days before the general disappeared, another scientist was shot dead on his porch. Carl Grillmar was known for discovering signs of water on a distant planet. He was gunned down in California. Freddie Snyder was later charged with his murder. He has a rap sheet, but was let out of jail by a Newsom-appointed judge weeks before he allegedly killed the scientist. We still don't know his motive. And we don't know if these cases are even connected, but this many top scientists getting killed or going missing in just under a year, looks like a major red flag.
Typically, when you see this many coincidences all happening at the same time, there is no coincidence. There's usually something nefarious going on. But as far as this guy that just went missing, they claim that he was starting to develop mental fog, or I guess it's kind of implied that he might have been showing early signs of dementia. If you have a man who's generally considered to be the gatekeeper between the public and any kind of UFO knowledge, and he starts showing signs of dementia, that guy literally turned into a liability overnight. People with dementia just let the cat out of the bag and say things they shouldn't be saying all the time, and they don't even realize they're doing it. My mother-in-law had dementia. I've worked in several nursing homes with residents who had dementia. I've seen people who seemingly blocked out entire chunks of their life because it was so traumatic just suddenly tell the whole story because they have dementia and they don't really realize what they're doing. It's like they forgot that they didn't want anyone to know this information. So if those stories are true, and they may just be saying that to sort of imply that he may have wandered off and went missing and it was a dementia-related episode. But if there's some truth to that, they may have thought that they had to take this guy out because at any minute he could slip up and lose track of who he is, where he is, what time it is, and just start saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. But it definitely seems that there's a connection between all of these disappearances. What do you all think?
Hey, I'm not saying it's connected, but I just got told we need to pay attention to this Valero oil refinery situation down in Port Arthur, Texas, a little bit more. And if you know me, you know that I pay attention to media manipulation, narrative framing, information control, all of that kind of stuff. So hear me out for just a second. And if you don't pay attention to this kind of stuff, hopefully this will give you a little bit of insight. Last night at around 7:30 Texas time, there was this massive explosion at an oil refinery in Texas, Port Arthur, Texas. I already said that. And it's being reported now that it was a heater malfunction. There was no injuries. Everybody's okay. But the plumes of black smoke, the people sheltering in place, hell, they even said kids were stuck on buses because the bus route went past the fire and all of that kind of stuff. So the media manipulation's already there, right? But then when you couple that with the fact that there was just a major deal signed for just up the road in Brownsville, Texas, for a new refinery that's the first of its kind in 50 years, and that's backed by this Indian company, it definitely makes you raise your eyebrows. And if you don't raise your eyebrows on stuff like that, or you're just thinking that this is an America First initiative, or we've got to do better with the oil efficiency and energy independence and all of that kind of stuff, just please pay better attention, because all of this stuff is lining up perfectly to hit all of our pocketbooks in every single way, not just gas prices. Let me know what you think.
Something else that everyone needs to be aware of, and I'm fairly certain this is the same incident that I'm thinking of. I don't think that I'm getting two different things confused, because I think this is the only oil refinery that's been, I guess, exploded in the past week. But there was a guy online who posted about this like a week or two before it happened and said the date of when the incident was supposed to occur. So they're saying this was from a heater malfunction, but someone knew about it at least a week in advance. That doesn't make their narrative very believable. But I don't really have an opinion yet on what I think is going on with this, other than they're trying to jack up our energy prices so that none of us can afford to live. But this is definitely a story that everyone needs to keep eyes on.
All right, y'all, here we go. The new COVID-style lockdown for 2026. It is now called an energy lockdown that is happening all over the world. Several countries are introducing measures that I guarantee you are going to become mandates, such as working from home, only traveling when absolutely necessary. Guys, I guarantee you this is going to become mandatory. We didn't think it was going to be mandatory in 2020. What we thought was going to be 2 weeks ended up being 2 years. So get ready. If you look it up, I mean, everybody's talking about it. It's going to be the new energy lockdown of 2026. But what happens to those of us that don't have a job where we can work from home? You know what I mean? It's going to become, the gas prices are going to be so astronomically expensive, nobody's going to be able to leave their house. This is crazy. Y'all better get ready. It's coming, and it's here.
So they're already talking in the news about potential lockdown mandates in the United States. I would just like to remind everyone that a mandate is not a law. But if no one complies with their mandates, they'll only have two options. Either they try to make it a law, or they throw their hands up and realize that no one's going to put up with it, and they forget the whole thing. But we all know a large portion of the population, when they hear the word mandate, they think there's prison time involved if they don't follow along, and they'll do whatever they're told. And then for those who don't follow along with their new energy lockdown mandates, they're going to make it so astronomically unaffordable to even fill up your vehicle with fuel, you're not really going to have the option to do anything. But all of these big moves that we know they're eventually going to try to pull off to get us in these 15-minute cities and completely take control of everything, that stuff is coming. And look at those newspaper headlines. Look how many different countries are talking about this. This is COVID 2.0. Nearly every country is just falling in line with this nonsense, when what they should be doing is trying to figure out a way to fix it. And why in the world would we here in the United States, after all that stuff we got from Venezuela, be even considering a potential lockdown over an energy crisis? It wasn't that long ago that they were talking like we had so much extra oil we didn't know what to do with it all. And now because some straight shutdown and shipping containers can't get through there, which should have zero impact on how much oil we have here in the United States, suddenly they're telling everyone they're about to have to shelter in place because it's going to be too expensive to travel. All I can really say is none of us should be following these mandates. Their reasoning behind them does not even make any sense.
I honestly have to give a bravo to the Illuminati for this one, because this is absolutely devious. It's like evil genius level intelligent nefariousness. Listen to this. South Korea calls for energy saving campaign, including shorter showers and car curb. It's a car curb? Well, it's a private sector vehicle curb, which is voluntary for now, but could be reviewed if the energy alert level increased. What does that mean? They want less people driving private passenger cars. They want public institutions would cut back on their use of passenger cars. So what does this mean? Well, we know part of the plan is that they don't even want you having a privately owned vehicle. We've seen videos from the World Economic Forum saying the future when, you own nothing and you'll be happy because there's public transit to take you everywhere. But how do you get people to abandon their privately owned vehicles? Well, you make it so that they either can't afford to drive or are not allowed to drive because they have to save the oil reserves in their country. Because oil, of course, runs out, right? It doesn't self-replenish, no. Problem, reaction, solution. We're seeing it again in real time. This is 2020 2.0, and it's coming here. We saw it when it unfolded in 2020. One country after another would make a new mandate, make a new optional voluntary thing until all of a sudden it became across the board, boom, mandatory. All they have to do is raise the energy alert level. So what do you guys think in the comments below? Is this an organic conflict or is something else going on?
And here's something else that people need to think about too. Does it not make a lot of sense right now why they just passed that law stating that there had to be some way to remotely take over your vehicle and shut it down? Because now they're talking about not allowing us to drive, that there's going to be a mandate. When they have a mandate, they treat it as if it's law and they just act as if there's no consequences for making up the rules as they go along, because typically there are no consequences for them. The public never stands up against these people, but they're going to come out and tell us that there's a mandate because of an energy crisis that we shouldn't be driving anywhere unless it's absolutely necessary. And then in every situation where they have the capability to do so, if someone's not following their new rules, they're just going to shut their car off. This is probably the only reason that they wanted that new law passed. They want to control everything we do and everywhere we go and when we can go there. And before they can condition us to follow along with this stuff, there's going to have to be some extreme measures in place that they then dial back a little from. So when they dial it back a little, most of the population is going to think, well, at least it's not like it was whenever we had those mandates in effect. That's how everything changes. They go to the extreme and then they dial it back just a little bit. But when they're done dialing it back, we have way less freedom than what we had whenever they started. It's the never-ending pattern.
Humanoid soldier robots arrive in Ukraine as battlefield technology test begins. These robots were deployed for frontline reconnaissance to test the platform's performance and capabilities in a real-world combat environment. The robots have been delivered to Ukraine for battlefield evaluation, marking a new step in the development of robotic combating systems. The humanoid Phantom MK1 robot was sent by the U.S. Startup Foundation in February, according to the company. Ukraine has increasingly become a real-world testing ground for emerging military technologies, attracting defense firms and startups from the West. The company believes robots could eventually perform dangerous battlefield roles currently carried out by soldiers. He added that the Phantom platform is being developed to handle a range of weapons systems typically used by humans. The Foundation is accelerating the development of military-capable humanoid robots with plans to manufacturing up to 50,000 units by the end of 2027. The humanoid stands about 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighs roughly 175 to 180 pounds, and is intended for tasks such as reconnaissance, bomb disposal, and other high-risk ground operations. The company plans to lease the robots rather than sell them outright, with estimated annual leasing cost of around $100,000 per unit. So this is what it's going to be. Who has the best humanoid robots? What country can create the best super soldiers? 'Cause I'm pretty sure 3 robots would probably be able to take out a very large amount of human soldiers. I would put money on a 3v20. Set up the teams in a paintball area. You got 3 robots, and then you got, let's say, 25 US soldiers. But those robots have enough ammo and cover, and those guys aren't using RPGs, let's just say ground combat versus ground combat, AR versus AR. Those robots will smoke the humans. So yeah, we'll see how these do in Ukraine.
Yeah, this sounds good on paper. It sounds like a great idea to send these robots into battle instead of our sons and daughters. But they're not only going to use them for that type of scenario. They're going to turn these things against the public. It is beyond obvious, just simply based off their own past behaviors, that they will use any tool they can get their hands on if they think that that tool can help them gain some sort of leverage or control over the population. Yeah, they may have just an intention at this moment to just deploy these things in Ukraine for active battle, but while they're there, don't think for a second that they're not training these things with all this new information that from the experience of being in battle, that they're not then using that information to train these things to take over an entire civilian neighborhood. Because if they could just flip a switch and start it tomorrow, we would have one of these on every street corner keeping us in check. And they would not miss a minute's sleep at night. They would probably sleep more peacefully because they finally pulled off what they've been wanting to do this whole time. Total control over what they view as an inferior population.
Y'all, there's something going on.
So y'all don't think it's strange that everybody have meteors in their city right now? Y'all don't think it's strange that it's March 19th already? Y'all don't think it's strange that we almost over the new year already? Y'all don't think it's strange that we can't even really eat food no more like we used to? Or we don't even know what the we want to eat or drink? Y'all don't think it's strange that we can barely sleep? Y'all don't think it's strange that the daylight saving time is weird? Y'all don't think it's strange? Y'all don't think it's strange?
And that's not all, y'all. Bro, look at this, bro. Look at this. What kind of sense does this make, man? What?
What is really going on? This is crazy.
Right. What is this?
The United States is about to get a blizzard, a polar vortex, a heat dome, and an atmospheric river all at once. The entire country, all of the United States, every one of our 50 states is about to get hit with extreme weather all at the same time. This is not just one region. This is not just one storm. A top meteorologist has said that every one of our 50 states is about to get hit with extreme weather conditions.
Did y'all see what happened to Hawaii? Look at this. Hawaii got flooded out. Look at the color of the water. Bro, what? Where did that water come from? Where did that water come from? Look at this, bro. That's crazy. All of this was going on in Hawaii. This is a big storm. Look at this. There was a crazy blizzard in Michigan that brought almost 5 feet of snow, y'all. Look at this. The snow made an imprint on the door. Look at that jump, bro.
They called Blizzard Elsa here in the UP of Michigan. As you can see, the snow is up pretty far.
Those cars are gone.
It's up to a fence line over there. And the Ford Ranger and the boat is now gone. And the other boat buried.
Bro, that's crazy.
They're saying we got over 4 feet of snow from this blizzard.
And then meanwhile, on the complete other side of the world, you have them going through a heat wave, bro. Mother Earth is really going through it, and I know y'all feel that too.
It is obvious to me what this is evidence of. Our entire system is starting to break down. Time doesn't seem like it's moving at the right pace. Our weather is all over the place. We're not just experiencing a more rapid occurrence of these major weather anomalies anymore. We're now starting to experience multiple weather anomalies simultaneously. And the Bible talks about this. I think that this is evidence that we are now experiencing the birth pains of the apocalypse. The end is coming, and the vast majority of the population is still walking around as if things are business as usual. I don't see how everyone's not paying attention to this. People just have their head buried in the sand. It's starting to feel like we could literally go through all of World War III, watch it come to its horrible conclusion, witness the return of our Savior, see the rise of the Antichrist and the mark of the beast, and a large portion of the population wouldn't even know that any of it happened because they never look up from their phone. It is mind-blowing to me how many signs there are that we do not have long left. And most people, when you bring it up to them, have no clue what you're talking about. So many people are going to be caught unprepared. But we can't say that the Bible doesn't warn us about that. The ending is coming up quickly, and our Savior will return like a thief in the night. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I appreciate y'all hanging in there for this much longer video. Thank you for watching these clips with me today. I look forward to reading y'all's comments and seeing what your thoughts and theories are on some of these clips. Don't forget to leave a like and comment on the video to ensure that my next upload actually shows up in your YouTube feed. God willing, I do intend to post tomorrow, so that's when you should look for the next one. I really appreciate everyone who watches every day. If you don't see it come up in your feed, just check my channel, probably by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I've almost always got the video up by then. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.